Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
Mike, female 20, mom, female 43, walked in on my stepdad, male 45, and his lover, female mid-20s. Lover then punched her in the face. I awoke this morning about 5:30 a.m. to the sound of my mother's voice. Her health has been deteriorating lately, so I responded, believing I was going to go to the hospital. She's weeping and adds, "Thank God you responded. My mother and stepfather operate a pub together. He's always been quite violent, just physically to her a few times, but emotionally and verbally to my mother, myself, and the other 4 of my siblings. If examples are required, I will gladly offer them. He's been coming home really late lately, bar shuts at 2, typically gone by 2:30. He's been coming home till 5-6. He is known to get inebriated while working and to spend the night there on occasion. When 4:30 rolls around, my mother decides to drive to the pub to make sure he's okay. She arrives, sees his pickup, and walks inside. She proceeds to the rear, where there are sofas, and sees him nude with a younger girl with purple hair, tattoos, and piercings. Of course, my mother flips out, labels her A, and orders her to leave the pub. The girl retaliates by calling her slurs and declaring, "This is my bar now," and then she punches my mother in the face. My stepfather made no attempt to protect her. My mother sobbed when she left the building and returned home. He returns home this morning, and all he has to say is that he loves my mother and that she was just my mother is in shambles, and although I'm upset, I'm almost glad it occurred. He's cheated on her at least 40 times in the last 12 years, and maybe now that she's seen it, she'll leave. She continually says she's going to leave, but she never does. She has a habit of arranging arrangements and then canceling them at the last minute with a poor reason. How do I deal with my stepfather? How can I persuade my mother to finally let go? I purchased her some wonderful flowers and want to deliver them to her after work, but he will also be there. Should I say something to the other girl or simply ignore her? At this moment, I'm thinking that confronting her would be stupid, but my rage is really getting the best of me. Update. Due to the upcoming holiday, I left work a bit early today. I went home to get her flowers and cookies. When I arrived at her place, they were both there, as were my younger brother and sister. My mother and stepfather were conversing in his room. They have separate rooms. My younger brother was absolutely unaware of the issue. All he knew was that my stepfather had not returned home the night before. My younger sister was aware of everything and said that if my mother would not leave this time, she would be moving out and living with my father. My mother emerged from the bedroom soon after I arrived and informed me that my stepfather was, surprisingly, quite remorseful and calm, as did she. But she can't stand him, can't bear looking at him, can't comprehend how he can do what he does. I couldn't help but wonder, what does he lie for? He's always telling her and us, "You're nothing about me," but in truth, his own children no longer speak to him, and all he has are the drunks at the bar who only socialize with him because he's the owner. He's got us, and we've got each other and the futures we're making for ourselves. What happens if we don't return? When I expressed it to her, she pushed me to ask him. I was nervous and embarrassed about it, but she genuinely wanted me to ask. She knocked and said she wanted to ask him a question, and he replied it was all right. So I inquired of him, "What is the point of your existence? What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning? And what do you have that makes you happy?" He was unable to respond. "I don't have an answer for you. That's a pretty hard question," he replied as he stared at me. I spent the next hour mediating a conversation between them. I explained why their relationship was failing, mainly due to horrible communication, and what they needed to do to mend it. My mother was telling him how lonely she was and how upset she was over everything. Instead of apologizing, telling her how much he loved her, or explaining what he would do to make things right, he fell asleep. I brought her outside and told her she was an idiot if she didn't leave this time. He couldn't wait for her to cease expressing her emotions. He didn't pay attention to a single thing she said. He just wanted her to stop talking, and it was brutally evident. She expressed her disdain and said that she did not believe she would be able to remain this time. We're all very sure she'll depart, thank God, and we can't wait to get on with our lives. We also discovered that the female is 20 years old and was drinking at the pub while underage. He'd been picking her up from her home, bringing her to the bar after work, and then going to her house some evenings as well. She's informed my mother that she loves him and would fight for him. My mother is unconcerned about her and feels it's unfortunate that she has been indoctrinated. Edit. She wasn't going to pursue charges at first, but she has enough people chirping in her ear for her to at least consider it. The only drawback is that she didn't leave a mark, and my stepfather has previously defended the girl enough times to be a witness to the crime. Update 2. I can't believe it, but she's gone. Last Saturday, I went to her home with approximately 12 other individuals, and we helped her move all of her belongings, as well as those of my younger brothers and sisters. She's relocating to a home approximately 30 minutes away from me, and she's overjoyed. She promised him that if he worked hard enough, she would give him another chance. He hasn't, which makes her happy. She was really emotional about the entire situation at first. She expressed her doubts, saying she didn't know whether she could do it. But I kept telling her that once she was free, she'd wonder why she remained so long, and I was right. Some individuals have now admitted that the only reason they didn't notify her about the affair was because he was telling everyone that they were in an open relationship. She's humiliated since that's not who she is. The other girl has been contacting my mother and telling her how that is now her bar and how much she loves him. Most of the time, she's inebriated, and my mother has stopped responding since all she does is shout absolutely unintelligible insults. The worst part, which kills me, is that he gave my mom an STD, one of which has no treatment, but I won't disclose which one because I feel awful for her. She also acquired a STI from him, which is being treated right now. I'm glad to announce that this is a fresh beginning for our family, and I'm relieved that I won't have to see or hear from him again. She's done with him and his psychopathic characteristics. Story 2. My wife's best friend confessed to sleeping with her last year. My wife says was too drunk to consent but didn't tell me as she was scared. My wife has known him for almost 15 years, and I have known her for 6 years, 3 of which have been married. He has also been married for 4 years, and his wife is a close friend of mine. So it was no surprise when his wife asked my wife to spend a few days with them last year, as we were emerging from the first lockdown. She stayed for 4 days. We've been home ever since and have been working from home, so I'm confident it was an isolated incident. Her buddy contacted me one day out of the blue and said that when my wife visited them last year, they had slept together and that he is really sorry for hurting me in this way. Apparently, he and his wife were having problems and going to counseling when he confessed to her. Of course, I hurried to my wife and confronted her, and she instantly burst into tears. She stated she had been dreading this day since last year, since she felt she had made a huge mistake by not telling me about the event. According to her, they had been drinking prior to this, and when she went to sleep in their guest room, he came in and started kissing her. She didn't know what was going on at first, but when she realized it was her friend, she was shocked and let him do whatever he wanted without putting up a fight. Her companion, on the other hand, said that he had with her because they had been excessively flirting while drinking. His wife had gone to bed since she had an early morning work call. My wife claims she is prepared to go to any length to show she is not a cheater. And, to be honest, she is the last person I anticipated to cheat and then conceal it from me. She is always accountable for her behavior. I'm at a loss on what to do, so I've requested some time away from her and have been sleeping in our second bedroom. Alternatively, I could sleep in the second bedroom since I haven't been getting enough sleep. I'm at a loss for what to do or how to go.